Now, recently, Republicans have been getting a lot of pushback after they 47 senators sent a letter to Iran's leaders basically saying that any agreement made between President Obama and the leaders of Iran would only be valid between them and not of the Congress, meaning that later on, if Congress doesn't approve of the deal, they can shut it down by 2/3 vote, and if the GOP president gets in 2016 after a supposed deal would be made, they would probably shut it down. Basically trying to say that don't make a deal with Obama because we'll shut it down. Okay, so they got a lot of pushback from the media and even other Republicans and Democrats, of course, but they know who to blame. Some senators, of course, GOP congressmen, are saying that it wasn't really our fault that we sent the letter. No, it was Obama's fault. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Listen to this. Now, there are some senators who signed on to this letter and some who didn't. And this was in, I believe, the Huffington Post. They basically deflected the issue because of Obama's failure to consult lawmakers about the negotiations. Well, I didn't know that you had to consult them just to have negotiations. Now I realize that it's a complicated issue when it comes to foreign policy. Any treaty does have to go through the Congress and be ratified by 2/3. But executive agreements between two different leaders of two different countries, that's sort of a different thing. Like I said, it's complicated, and that's by design. It's foreign policy. Whenever you're dealing with two different large entities, such as nations, it's going to be complicated. All right. So anyway, according to Bob Corker, he told the Huffington Post, I think that no doubt the fact that the president, issued a veto threat on a very common sense piece of legislation probably evoked, a good deal of passion. Obama. It's Obama's fault. See, if he hadn't issued a veto threat on possible sanctions with Iran, well, then we wouldn't, have sent this letter. Thanks, Obama. Bob Corker also responded no when asked if he was concerned that Tom Cotton's letter, remember the guy who pretty much wrote the letter and got 46 other senators to sign on to it, if it would cost the bill much needed Democratic support. No, absolutely not. Democrats will still sign on. Either that or they never really were on our side to begin with. After all, they're Democrats. What do you expect? Okay. But there's more criticism here of Obama from GOP, this time coming from former New York Governor George Pataki. Here we go. Now he says, even though he believes foreign policy to be the prerogative of the president, he feels that Obama is to blame for Senate Republicans trying to undermine his talks with Iran. Like I said, can you believe it? Republicans are saying, no, we had to undercut Obama. We had to go and possibly ruin negotiations because Obama. It's his fault. We undercut him. They didn't include us. All we wanted to do is just be part of the discussion. That's all. Now, he also says, I understand the frustration when this president has done everything in his power to prevent awareness on the part of congressional leadership on exactly what the terms under consideration are, or his willingness to sit down with Congress and talk about the legislation they are trying to pass right now. He continues, I think we had a president who had engaged more in understanding that Congress is a very critical role in all elements of government, we could avoid this type of sad situation. Sad situation indeed. Peter King also weighed in by saying, hey, the president is really taking a risk by not agreeing to get either confirmation or approval from the House or Senate. Once again, I didn't know that just going into talks just talks, to try and, keep Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, required Peter King's approval. Look, this Congress right now, there's a good reason that President Obama didn't go to the Congress. It's because Congress doesn't, as far as I know, a lot of the Republicans in Congress, which is Republican controlled, they don't want peace with Iran. I remember doing a story yesterday of Tom Cotton planning on going to talk to defense contractors about Iran. This is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. That Tom Cotton sends a letter a day before he meets with defense contractors that we buy weapons from. It's not a coincidence. He can go and tell those defense contractors, hey, I got your back. I got your back. With a war with Iran? Yeah, we could do that. I just made sure that we don't have peace with Iran. Or I just tried to sabotage peace with Iran and undermine Obama. Now give me my money. It's ridiculous. I want to go to Senator John McCain for the last Republican here. Now, John McCain says, what this is all about is that they note that this deal, from what we know about it, the number of centrifuges and the 10-year expiration date, that they would have one heck of a time getting it through the Congress of the United States, including a lot of Democrat votes. This is why there's the hysterical reaction. The hysterical reaction is taking the unprecedented step of undermining our leader and essentially telling the world, you can't trust what our president says because we're not going to honor the president's deal because we don't honor the office of the president anymore. Or at least we don't honor the person in the president's office. You think if Democrats did something like this, that the Republicans would be okay with it? No, their heads would explode. Immediately. They'd be like, try him for treason, hang him for the trees. Second Amendment solutions. You think they wouldn't say that? You think they wouldn't go absolutely apeshit crazy? Oh, absolutely they would.